If you like this podcast or the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod. It just goes to help fund the software and the hosting. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight I'm talking to Carl Simpson. Now, Carl served with the RAF, joining in 2006 and leaving in 2021. He's gone on to set up his own, I would say, empire, motivational. You know, you're getting there with it. I know. I mean, I've been keeping an eye on since Christmas on the stuff that you've been putting out on Facebook and stuff like that. And I want to get involved, but I'm a bit scared. But we can talk about that later on when we get to that time in the,
Everyone's scared, doesn't matter how big or hard they are. They're always scared to take that plunge because of fear of failure. That's what it is.
Well, yeah. So I mean, start off deep, yeah. So
that's what you ex-missus said to
me. Right, so if we just start off with the same 5 questions that I normally have for everyone, which is, where did you grow up? Why did you join? What was it like? Why did you leave? And what have you done since? So if you just want to give us a bit of a background of where you grew up and what made you join the forces.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. It's nice to virtually meet you. And like I said, this is my 3rd podcast today. So if I start flagging off on a tangent, I'm getting a little bit tired. So especially with me talking, it takes a lot of energy out of me. I'm not an actual extrovert, even though you'd see that on social media. You think, fucking hell, he loves to talk. I fucking hate talking. I hate social media as well. But it is an avenue of my business. And in order to help people, I need to be on social media. But it is nice to talk to someone, because usually when I'm podcasting, I'm just talking to myself. And it just goes off.
I've tried that. I tried it on my 2nd episode. I thought, if I'm going to get people to come on, I've got to do it myself. And I had to write a script and everything. And it lasted 30 minutes. And it took 4 hours to record it. I'll never do it again, ever. So, no. Right, sorry to interrupt there. So you want to just carry on?
That's all right. That's all right. That's what we're here for. So where did I grow up? Well, I grew up in a lovely South Yorkshire town called Rotherham, which has been in the news.
Yeah, I was going to say, quite famous.
Recently. And it is as good as they say. No, to be fair, it wasn't too bad when I was young. It's horrendous now, and I've got no need to go back, thankfully. So I don't. I went back maybe 10 years ago, and it was just run down. But every place has got their shithole. So I joined up when I was 18. Now, I nearly didn't get in because I actually had asthma when I was young, and on my GP's prescription record, whatever they call it, I still had inhalers on my record. And at the time, you weren't allowed to join up with asthma, so I had to go through all kinds of spec meds to make sure I was physically fit to serve, because I hadn't touched inhaler for ages. So that was a fucking debacle. But why I joined up, really, and I say this quite openly on social media, I got heavily involved in drugs. I was never addicted, but I used it as an escape, to escape my life. I was lucky that I didn't get addicted, and because I was on the good shit like cocaine, amphetamines and stuff like that. And then a lot of people ask me, well, how did you get into the forces? Well, when you tick the box, have you ever done drugs? It's probably always a good idea when you go for an interview not to tick that box, no matter what it says. And I actually had someone that I was talking to on Instagram, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm going for my interview. I failed it. I was like, why? He goes, well, I did drugs. What, and you said you did? Yeah. I thought it best to be honest. I was like, 99% of the times is yes, definitely be honest. But if it's going to help you get out of a shit situation, and you're probably never going to go down that path again, then you want to tell a white lie. especially with the drugs that I was using. I say using. It was they were fast metabolizers, so even if they did do a piss test on me, they wouldn't have caught. So yeah, that's basically why I joined up. I have no idea why I joined the Air Force, but it was to do with confidence, because I wanted to join something like the Marines, but I didn't think I was fit enough at the time because of what happened for my asthma, and I was fucking shit at running as well. So I got sold the absolute dream of the RAF Reg, which, yeah.
I'm saying fuck all. Right? I'm not going to start. I'm not going to go down that avenue. You know, the 5 mile of death and all that. No, I can't.
I obviously went to, well, not obviously, I went to college before and studied sport and exercise science and psychology. So I was really into the academic stuff with exercise mindsets when I was young. So actually, to put 2 and 2 together of what I do now, it makes kind of sense. So yeah, joined the RAF Reg. And then the funny thing is, I did a secondment, did like a week or 2 in the AFCO. And obviously they pulled my file up and they went, "Oh, you're pretty intelligent for a RAF Reg gunner." I was like, "What do you mean?" They went, "Well, you could have been this. I was like, now you fucking tell me. Would have been nice to know when I was in the interview stage, but obviously they've got quotas to fill and there was manpower issues, should we say. So yeah, that's basically childhood in a nutshell, why I joined up.
I mean, to be honest, it wasn't until I'd been in the army about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years that I even knew that the RAF Regiment existed. You know, it was never on my radar. So I was never looking at the RAF to join when I joined. But it was like, so my first posting was out in Gutterslow, and we used to land in RAF Gutterslow as it was at the time, and you'd see them milling about there, you know, because they were there for the defence of the things, you know, they had their own rapier and stuff like that. And in artillery, you know, you get to notice stuff like that. But I'd never heard it. I didn't even know they existed until then. And I know there's always that to and fro, and it's not animosity, it's banter. You know, it's between that the fucking Paris Marines, the Army, the RAF, and all that, and it's always the RAF, and it's all. I think it's funny as fuck. But I can imagine it quite upsets some people. But if it does,
yeah, I mean, imagine doing all the fucking shit, all the section battle drills, digging trenches, doing all the warfare stuff, to never actually get utilized and use it. That is the only shit part. But then we weren't formed to go offensive. No. We were offensive defense. But obviously, they don't tell you that at the AFCO. They go, "Oh yeah, you can go here. You can use this. You can do this. You can parachute. You can do this." I'm like, "Oh yeah, fucking sign me up." Actually, you're gonna drive around desert looking to get blown up and not actually see much action. Obviously, there's like a part of SFSG, a contingent that go down there. But yeah.
I mean, in the artillery years ago in the 80s, during the Cold War, we used to have a regiment called 50 Missile, and they had the Lance nuclear capability. And they had a battery called the Special SPG, Special. Oh, you know what? I forgot that. I'm going to say Patrol Group. I don't think it is that. But their sole purpose was to guard the launches. So if they're deployed out in the field, they would go. Then exactly the same as like the RAF Reg. They'd dig in. And they were artillery. They weren't infantry, and they would go off and do like the advanced battle courses and stuff like that, and the infantry courses and the section commanders courses in Brecon and things like that. And when they disbanded and they brought them lads and put them into the rest of the regiments within the artillery, half of them had never touched a gun. They didn't fucking know what they were, type of thing. You know, they were infantry soldiers within the artillery, and they had to be retrained or re-rolled when that regiment went under. You know, but they were like yourselves. For your role, you're very highly trained. But whether that role's boring or not, you know, it is a different thing. You know, you did so fucking much in Afghan. It is a fact of the matter. And when you joined in 2006, shit was happening. You would have known that within, let's say, 18 months or even 12 months of you joining, you'd have been deployed somewhere.
Yeah,
you know, you'd have been out on the ground.
Yeah, Afghan was my first tour in 2007, so it wasn't long after basics and then we were just rocking around in the old school Wolf Land Rovers and Wimics with some ballistic matting underneath. So if we actually did go over a fucking ID, there'd be nothing left of us.
So what was training like for you? What was it like turning up there? I mean, where did you do? I don't
So
know.
we do it at
no idea
RAF
whatsoever.
Honington is where we do it, and it's changed now. It keeps changing like every century. Before my time, everyone used to go up to RAF Halton and get trained with the rest of the Air Force. And then when you go to your phase 2 training, that's when you go to Honington. When I joined up, I went straight to Honington, which is in Bury St Edmunds, which is actually quite a nice part of the UK near Cambridge. So plenty of nights out in Cambridge and Newmarket. Yeah.
Students. Yeah.
Yeah. But the problem is now that they've reintegrated the RAF Regiment with the rest of the Air Force, what you see now, or when I was a basic instructor, what I saw was they saw how everyone else had it easy when they went to phase 2 and did like the Clark's course or the PTI course. They went to Honington and started to get shouted at again because it's phase 2 now, not phase 1. So you can be a little bit meaner, like be a bit more like the military, not like it is now. And then there was loads of like PVR rates when they got to phase 2 because they didn't like the way they've been talked to. So,
it's a different world. Like I say, when I joined 85, I mean, and to be fair, I didn't get shouted at and beasted and stuff like that. I joined junior leaders. So we did a year in training basically before we went to all units. We were supposed to be the future leaders of the army, which I think is a really, really good idea, and they should have kept it up. Each corps and each regiment, or each regiment or corps, whatever you want to call it, should still have a junior leader. If we had the numbers that were joining and we still had the size of the military that we had, instead of getting rid of them and all going to Harrogate or the RAF's equivalent or the Navy equivalent, I think it was a better idea because it brought up them soldiers within that corps, that type of thing. Whereas I suppose what you were doing with the RAF regiment is exactly the same thing. What you do in your phase 1 is a lump of people who you're probably never going to see again because they're going to be on totally different trades and stuff like that. So I suppose it's like the same now for phase 1 for the army as well. They'll go to Pairbridge or wherever, or AFC Harrogate, training with guys who are in, the infantry guys will all be in the same platoon or whatever, and then they fuck off the battalions and never see each other again. So what was phase 2 like for you then? Was it a shock? Was it enjoyable?
It feels like so long ago, and I only left a few years ago, but it feels like I've been out for 10, 20 years. It was hard, but it wasn't like the worst thing I did. I enjoyed some of it. I was quite disciplined already because I'd been, I did martial arts since I was 12, so the discipline didn't really bother me. Obviously, it was a steep learning curve. I was glad to finish basic training and join the squadron, but I struggled in some areas. In some other areas, I didn't struggle. So yeah, it wasn't like horrendous. I didn't get my ass handed to me every single night, anything like that. We got ragged around physically, but what it is, isn't it? It's fun when you get beasted, when someone fucks up and you have to run up and down a massive hill in your NBC suit. Can't get away with that now.
So is is phase 2 for the RAF regiment? Would you say that's similar to, say, like, I don't know, army training, like the infantry training that they're doing in the army? So
I'm not too sure of what goes on. So basically it's like your general service training. So you're supposed to train to be like a warfighter first. Yeah. Just like the Navy is, but it doesn't really happen like that. So you do like the drill, kit prep, ironing, stuff like that, general service knowledge. Then they do a 4 week green stint, whereas I was one of the basic trainings on that where we teach them weapon, rifle, for basic first aid, basic NBC or CBRN as it's called now. And then we took them on a Bookshy little exercise with inspections and stuff like that. And then after that, if you joined up as to be like an ICT tech, you go off and do your trade training.
Yeah.
If you're a PTI, you'd go and do running PTI stuff. And then if you're regiment, you went and did advanced fieldcraft tactics and stuff like that.
So what level does the RAF regiment get to with it? So like when you've got your squadron, you know, like they say, when I was on about the 50 missile guys, they could go off and do, you know, the Brecon, basically.
All right, okay, yeah. So we didn't go and do Brecon. We had our own in-house training. So before you got selected for promotion, you had to do like a Brecon course. So you do your juniors, you do your seniors, and then you'd be eligible for promotion to corporal or promotion to sergeant. So that's like a 14-week course where we did like orders and all that good stuff. You're writing orders in your little tam, with your fucking head torch when it's pissing down and doing that kind of stuff, building model pits. And then if you pass the command phase, I called it, then you do like RMQ and weapon instructor. So every corporal in the RAF Regiment is a skillet arms.
All right.
Yeah. Which for you guys is like, what the fuck? Because that's like a specialist trade that you go down, isn't it? Like a qual that you go down. But because we have to run our own ranges and do stuff like that, so we need to be in-house.
So you're within the RAF, you're really like quite self-contained as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And how does that fit with the rest of the RAF? Do they like see you as like the fucking look down on you, look up
like the bastard child of the RAF?
I didn't want to put it that way, but yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's so weird. They even brought Lance Corporal into it as a Section 2 IC because, to be fair, it's a role that we use. But the Blue Air Forces, as we like to call it, they get promoted first and then do their promotion course. Whereas we have to do our promotion course first and then get promoted.
I didn't think there was any other way. You know what I mean? Get promoted first. What happens if you don't pass your fucking course or your shit?
Well, you don't get promoted.
Get demoted, yeah. But, you know, fucking hell. I'm commenting. I'm not commenting.
Well, yeah, it makes no sense to me either. But then they're trying to.
What was it like getting to your squadron then?
Well, I was. How old was I? 18. Like, and then obviously all the people always give you like the scare stories of what's going to happen to you. You know, getting things shoved up you and stuff like that as a part of a integration. Never happened.
Initiation ceremonies.
Yeah, initiation. If I remember rightly, I went straight into PDT to prep to go to Afghan. So yeah, we obviously we needed to be qualified in sort of like the weapon systems that we weren't qualified in basics, like GPMG, HMG, grenades, all that kind of stuff that we would be using in ops. So we had to get up to speed on that first. And then all the mandatory like health and safety courses and tick boxes and driver training. We needed to do that as well. And then I got put straight onto pre-deployment training.
And I bet that was a bit of a shock for you, coming out of training and going straight into that.
Yeah, it was a fast pace. I didn't really felt for the first 4 or 5 years of my career, I'd never felt like I'd got any time to breathe. There was always something to do.
How big is the RAF regiment as a whole? I'd imagine it's smaller now than when you joined.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you. It's small.
I mean, it's not massive, is it? So I mean,
no, it's not.
I have no idea myself, to be honest. So what was your first deployment to Afghan like?
That was probably one of my favourite tours, just because we weren't using like the heavy vehicles, and for what we were doing, going off track and cutting our own detail, it was quite good for that.
Was it what you expected?
No. Like I said, we've been trained to assault things and like go in and do that kind of stuff, but then we were just doing patrols.
So like camp defence and that.
Yeah, and so we had an 80 kilometres area of operation, so we weren't confined to camp. It was the area that we needed to cover just to make sure that, to try and reduce the amount of IDF that was incoming, try and deter that, to make sure the planes weren't getting shot down, main role. To do a little bit hearts and minds as well. So we did village patrols, just to, try and find who.
Round Bastion, was it?
It was Kandahar, my first tour, actually. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky in the respect that I didn't go to Afghan. I did Iraq and other ones and stuff like that. But I left the army in 2012.
Okay, yeah.
And I'd been downgraded before that, so there's no way I was deploying anywhere. I was getting old.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fuck that shit.
All that shit. I kind of regret it as well, because I mean, the regiment I was with at the time, they were deploying. Every battery was going out every 6 months. And you see your mates going out, and you do get that FOMO, that fear of missing them a little bit. But then, the sensible part of my brain was saying, shut up, you're too old for this shit. And you've done your time, and you've done your tours. There's no need to worry about what you do. You get that, there's that little bit of FOMO, especially when they're coming back going, oh, this, that, and the other. And then now later on in years, I'm speaking to people who are probably now suffering from them tours, because it was so intensive. It's like I alluded to just now about when you joined, you knew you were going to go straight out to Afghan. And when I joined in '85, there was nothing going on. There was the Cold War and Northern Ireland, and even at the time there was very few of the artillery going out to Northern Ireland. You used to go out and do infantry tours, so a lot of it was just exercise training, go out to Canada, do back group exercise there, come back, and just start again. And then we started going out to Ireland a lot more, and then later on, in the mid-90s, we had it with Bosnia. That was quite interesting. Going out to Bosnia to do that, and then Iraq '91, the Gulf War that happened. Result on that one. And then 2003 was like the last big thing that I did. I did a half tour in 2006. So when you joined, I was out in Iraq. When I did a half tour, so come back to get a posting. And that was my last. So when you joined, I stopped all my active service. So you took over from me.
I actually did a tour of Iraq as well, but it was only like a 3-month tour, and everything was closing down at that time anyway. So
I know, like, I don't think so much Iraq, but I think Afghan now leaves a bitter taste in a lot of veterans' mouths, that everything that happened and all the lives that were lost on both sides, civilian as well, and then just to hand it back, just to go, all right, fair enough, we're bored now, we're leaving. You can have all the kit as well if you want it, and just hand it back to the Taliban. And all the promises the Taliban made about, we'll keep up with everything. And you look out now, and they just went, yeah, fuck it. No one's allowed back to school, and it's just regressed. And it seems such a waste that it all happened and nothing's achieved, or it seems that way. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, it's one of those. It's catch-22, isn't it? If we'd have stayed there, we'd have lost more lives on both sides as well. And let's be fair, did anyone really think the Taliban was going to do what they said they were going to do? Absolutely not. But you mean look at what the Russians tried to do all them years ago. If they couldn't do it, and they're
if you want to go back in history, it's our third attempt. We'd had 2 Afghan wars before that, and we got sent home. It's the whole history thing. No one can conquer Afghan. It's an unconquerable country.
It's not a country to conquer. It's an idealism. It's abstract. You can't kill that, because there's nothing to kill. You can't just like kill one person and that's it. Like the head of the Hydra and everything goes. It's an idealism. It's obviously
you can't stop ideology.
you can't. So, and obviously politics comes into it as well, and we've got to be seen to do our part for the cause at the time. And I don't think anyone, or I'd like to think, and again, I might be wrong, that anyone that did lose their life out there, I don't think they would look back or look down on us and say they did it for nothing, because we all joined up to do something that we believed in, to do something for our country. So,
and it's the old adage as well that you're not doing it for government. You're out there. You're doing it for him. You're doing it for her. The ones who are either side you, the ones who are in front of you and behind you. You're doing it for your mates. That's who you're protecting, really. It's that. Whether you're Navy, Army, RAF, whatever, it's you are part of a community. You do a brotherhood, sisterhood, wherever you want to call it. And when the shit's hit the fan, it's each other you're looking out for. It's got nothing to do with like the government or this or whatever, politics or anything. We don't get involved in politics. We get told to go and do that, and we do that, and then we look after each other.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, what else was your time like? I mean, what places were you stationed in the UK?
Just Bury Settlements or RAF Wellington, and then I finished my career at RAF Halton, which is in Wendover, which is an amazing place. It's chill. It's out in the countryside, but it's not too far away from the main town, where you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. So it's got the right balance of country bumpkin vibes with the Chilterns and the hills behind you, and then it takes you 15, 20 minutes to get into where town is, if you like. Yeah. And after I had finished on my operational squadron, that's where the real Air Force came in. We did adventure training in Las Vegas. I went to Egypt scuba diving. I actually did my 100th dive on a tri-service scuba dive in Egypt. So I had to do it naked, and I couldn't not do it because there was Army and Navy there. So I was like, well, I've got to do it, which was actually quite nice. Just being naked scuba diving in the Red Sea. It was quite freeing, if you like.
Unless a fucking nice big fish goes, oh, is that lunch?
It wouldn't have to be that big fish.
Oh, fucking hell. It would be the first time I've been naked swimming. No, I'm not going to go down that route. So what else? Let's go back to Afghan. So, I mean, you made it like you've made it sound quite mundane, and I bet it wasn't. I mean, I know guys that were there in places like Kandahar and Bastion as army, and they were there doing like QRF and stuff, and they had a fair few incidents. I mean, I can't remember when Bastion got attacked, what year it was, and I was only reminded of that the other day when I was listening to another podcast, and I forgot all about it. The Taliban actually attacked Bastion and destroyed planes. You're just like, fucking hell, I'd forgot all about it. And when you think that takes some balls on their behalf to attack something that big, sustained attack. So you always had that threat against you as well. I mean, if anyone says, "Oh, slip a city," it's not. You're in charge of the defence of that place. I'm not saying it's your fault that Bastion got attacked, by the way.
Yeah, that makes me laugh when they say, "Oh, yeah, the Battle of Bastion." They're calling it the Battle of Bastion. No one fucking called it the Battle of Bastion. That was the Sun, all right, or whatever newspaper it is. And then there was all the rumours about shooting around body armour and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, cool. Like, come on, really? Do you really think we've got time in when shit hits the fan to shoot around body armour? No, I don't believe that. Not that I was there. It wasn't my unit. No, like I said, the threat's always there. And like, so my first tour, the minute we came into land, we had to do an evasive maneuver because the base was getting rocketed. So that was nearly end X for us. And then,
hello.
Oh, you're here. Goodbye. Yes, so there was always that. we did a lot of MERT as well. So we were close protection for the guys, the medics on MERT. So obviously we had to get stuck in and do all that really good stuff. And that was one of the best jobs, but it was one of those where you wanted to get called out, but you didn't want to get called out at the same time because you wanted to do your job, but that meant someone was really fucking hurt. So it was like, yeah.
I've always used that as a comparison when I'm trying to explain things to people, that if somebody says to me, I mean, my job is quite a mundane, boring job now in Civic Street. I work in IT. And if I'm quiet and the phone's not ringing, that means I'm doing my job, or I've done my job properly. The shit's not hitting the fan type of thing. So I try and compare that. And, you know, the kids at work, they're all younger than me, fucking hell. When I say to them, you know, they go, oh, quiet. I said, yeah, that's because you're doing your job. You've been proactive in fixing things before anyone notices, or this, that, and the other. And I compare it to being a medic in the forces. That, you know, years and years and years ago, before like Afghan, Iraq, places like that, the medics were like, what the fuck do they do, fuck all? You know what I mean? Good.
Yeah.
If they're not busy, that's good. If they're busy, shit's at the fan. You don't want that. So that's how I compare it. I mean, you basically just said the same thing, yeah. I mean, the MERT teams, fucking hell. You know, I've not spoken to anyone who actually worked on them, or, you know, I've been trying to, but I can imagine that was horrendous for the guys on the choppers and stuff like that, getting deployed and going out and doing that. What are some of the experiences you'd have had that as well?
Yeah, I think it's because, well, again, this is just me thinking, like, when you're in the mix of it, you don't get to see the severity of the wound. That's really what happens when you strip everything down. When your dick's hanging out and you've lost, it's a smell for me of burning flesh that always stuck to me. Not so much the memories, but I always picked one guy up who'd been hit by an IED, and you could just, the rotted flesh was just weird smell that it's hard to put. It's not a smell that you can relate anything to.
And you'll never forget. It's quite sweet.
No. But obviously we worked in rotations, whereas the MERT teams, that was their sole job. So when we worked on MERT, it was maybe a month or two. Then we'd get relieved. We'd do QRF patrols, back onto MERT, QRF patrols, and we'd do that. So the actual medics, they were constantly exposed to the shit, basically. And obviously we had to also pick up the bad guys that were wounded as well, which wasn't always...
Geneva Convention. I mean, as much as it's humanity, isn't it? As much as people would say, who've never been in them situations, that, you know, oh, fucking leave them, they're enemy. The humans.
Yeah.
You know, whether you feel that or not, they're still human beings. I mean, there's, you know, the cases of currently now where people are looking into the special forces executing Taliban suspects and stuff like that. Whether that's right, wrong, true, or what, you know, that'll come out in the wash. People are still human. The Marine sergeant who, let's not fucking beat about the bush, executed the wounded Taliban. You know, whether he was considering he was putting him out of his misery or not. You know, it was still against the Geneva Convention, mercy killing, whatever you want to call it. It was still wrong. You know, it's weird because I wouldn't say I agree with what he did, but I can see why he did it. And, you know, I mean, the way they made their mistake was leave the fucking helmet cam on, unfortunately. You know,
yeah, if you're going to do something, at least burn all the evidence.
Yeah, like you said earlier, you know, tell a white lie. I mean, that's more than a fucking white lie, but yeah. You know what I mean? Jesus. But and again, I've listened and listened to other things and read, and, you know, these type of things have happened constantly throughout conflict. You know, we all think that in the Second World War, Germans bad, British good, you know, and we treat everybody like he's a cup of tea, this and that. That's not the fact. You know, we were quite nasty to some German soldiers, Italian soldiers, Japanese soldiers. You know, it happened, but it just doesn't get down. It's just what you get to know about. and hear stories being told and stuff like that. And there's documented stuff as well. I can't go into it now because I can't remember the actual facts. But that stuff happened on both sides. But it's always portrayed as though it's, like, say, from the Second World War, it's always portrayed it was the Germans did it and we didn't, and the Americans didn't. But we know it happened. Vietnam, you're looking at what? It's always the Yanks. Well, it was only the Yanks, the Australians, the New Zealanders. They really wanted it. So then it was the Yanks that would go in and wipe villages out, which happened. It happened on more than one occasion. Also in Iraq, with the Americans going out and basically fucking, we're going to kill as many people as we can. The case of that section that went out, and they all got caught and they all got life. Rightly so. They were killing innocent civilians and stuff like that. But killing, you've got to treat all the injured equally, I think. And that's the way we've been trained, and that's the way it's taught. That's the doctrine. So that's the way it should be as well. But the animosity that you're going to have seeing Terry Taliban laid on the back of a Chinook next to fucking Corporal Smith from the Royal Irish, and from the same battle, from the same firefight.
Who he's just shot, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I recall an incident in Iraq in 2003, where one of our lads has been on patrol and down in the L4 and came under fire, and he returned fire as you should and shot the guy. An hour or so later, because they were based in a police station. An hour or so later, these guys turned up and said, "Help! Can you give him some assistance? He's been shot." Fucking we just shot him. But they had to, they did what they did. They had to look after the guy and get him treated. I just thought, that's fucking cheek. That is. That's proper cheek. But then again, Shy Bane's getting out as the SEAL here. So, what was the rest of your time like in the RAF for you then? You said you moved from an operational squadron to is that the normal thing that you move about within the squadrons, or do you kind of stay within a single squadron solely on your time?
It depends. So usually, you could probably stay on a operational squadron for your whole career if you wanted to, because you can move around different sections. Like you can be on a rifle platoon in army speak. You can do the geeky stuff, the comms ops as well. You can do training. So you can move around, and you can move around on camps as well. So because Honington was such a big place, you had training establishments, you had the Force Protection Center where you could basically train everyone else in the Air Force going on high threats course. You could go, before it got moved back to or got moved to the tankies, you could do CBRN specialist as well. I decided it were to move on, especially after I tried going for SBS selection and failed that. I was like, it's time for a fresh start.
So what made you come for selection? What decided that?
I just wanted to see to see what would happen, basically. Pretty much like I'm doing now in life, to see what happens. But yeah, I massively wasn't aware of how in depth they would go into navigation,
right,
on the SBS briefing course, because when we're on squadron, it's just point to point naving, from A to B. I'd not done cross sectioning and resectioning and all that stuff since basics, so that really caught me out, and that's where the big fails got for me. And at the time, I haven't got the mindset that I've got now, so I was like, I took it quite badly. I was really fucking gutted, and I didn't think to grow myself and have another go. On reflection, if I had done that, I wouldn't be here now. And going even deeper, obviously I didn't want it that much. Otherwise, I'd have kept going until I was too old or fucked. Because that's what you do when you want something. When you really want something, you dig in and you go for it. So that was a massive mirror to myself that I didn't really want it that much.
Is there a lot of guys from the RAF Regiment go for selection? Because again, it's not something I'm aware of really.
Yeah, so there's not many people that go for SBS, but I like scuba diving, so I was like, well, scuba diving, SBS. That makes fucking sense. Idiot, I know. So yeah, that's why I went. But most of the people that I knew went for 2-2, not SBS.
And what about? I mean, I've got guys, and I know guys who've gone there. I know a couple of guys who've tried twice for selection, and when they come back to the unit, they both got RTU due to injury. And generally, you only get 2 goes at it, and that's it. One of my closest friends in the army, he was offered back to go, but he decided that it wasn't for him because he started, I wouldn't say looking down on them, but he thought they were shit. You know what I mean? He go all the way through the jungle and all that, and basically walked out. He went, "No, he's a crap. I can do better myself." Because he just wanted to be out in Afghan doing forward air controlling. And when he did his 20, I'm talking about, when anyone who knows me and who knows him and know one about, I won't mention his name, but there's a lot of people out there who know just by what I've just said who he is. He's a character, put it that way. He'd done his 22 in the army, and the day after he left the army, he joined the RAF as an officer, just so that he could go back out to Afghan and be a forward air controller. That's all he wanted to do, and he spent most of his career out there. He fucking loved it. It takes a certain type of person to be, like you say, the mindset and stuff like that, to be determined, which you're now, you're coaching and finding now later on in life.
I can see why people I had an easier time in Afghan because you were just focused on the job and staying alive. So I can see why people would like to keep going, especially if you haven't got kids or a missus and stuff like that. Like it's good money, and you're in like a battle routine as well, and it's that high energy, high octane stress environment that most people, especially in the military, thrive off.
Yeah, it's the adrenaline. And it is addictive. And I'm not saying I've been in them types of environments because I haven't really. I know I've been in some, but not to that extent. I've never been, like I said, I've never been in a firefight in Afghanistan or anything like that. But the guys I know have been. I wouldn't say it's second nature, but it almost becomes the norm. And when it's not happening, you're like, what the fuck? This isn't right, because I need to get back there. It's easy. You know what I mean? You get trained for it. It's like I say to a lot of people, like, especially, not long after I'd been out in the army. It's like, fucking, I wish I was back in the army. Why? It's fucking easier. It's easier getting shot at than dealing with cities. And I meant it. It's because I suppose you get indoctrinated into it. It becomes part of your life, and again, it's also that adrenaline, and it is a drug. But for some people, they need it. For me, I'd had enough. I was there. I was happy. Some people, they need that constant. And you can see it all the way through history, type of thing. But it is what it is. So, was it you not carrying on with the selection process? Is that what decided you to jump ship?
Yeah, I thought that's my time now to look elsewhere and to start really focusing on my mind instead of just my body as well. So that's why I went into but coaching and mentoring, if you like, phase 1 basic instructor down at RAF Halton.
So that was while you were still in the RAF?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they did courses like that.
Yeah, so it's basic training instructor. So you can either do like the full phase 1, or if you remember what I said about the green phase that the recruits go through, the 4-week thing. So instead of doing the full, like being with them from day 1 to Index, doing all the shit thing like kitting and teaching them to iron and stuff like that, I did the funner stuff, which was the rifle, taught them rifle.
Right, okay. It's just the way you said it. I thought, fucking hell, mentoring and coaching. I was thinking like what you're doing now. You know what I mean?
No, sorry,
hell.
no, sorry. So that's when I first started. Like it kind of like sparked for me that I was going to do coaching and mentoring in the long run, because I enjoyed helping and teaching people and getting an end product out of it. And that's where I started doing like my NLP mindset coaching stuff and peak performance coaching. And then because of when I moved into phase 3 training, which was on the same camp, we were teaching people mats, basically, keeping people qualified that needed to go out to Afghan and to short-term placements and the Falkland Islands and stuff like that, just to keep them up to date what they needed to do for the yearly qualifications and the pre-deployment qualifications. And that was quite a bookshy, easy time for me, because we weren't that busy, because we were a training camp. So I basically worked like a civvy job, 8 till 5. That's when I started PTing to earn some extra money. Not that I needed to, but I got told it was really good money. So I was like, well, if I'm not doing anything of an evening because I wasn't married, might as well be in the gym, because I love being in the gym anyway, teaching people how to use and be better. And that's where it all started to snowball for me. So I never actually thought that when I first qualified as a personal trainer, that this is where I'd be now, sitting here now.
So that you left in 2021. How did you find that transition from being in the forces and then all of a sudden, because it's quite recent for you as well. I mean, for me, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That transition, how did you find that?
For me, it was easy. Like, because I'd already started personal training 2 years before I left, I'd already built real life skill set, clients, knowledge of how to actually get a civvy from A to B. So I just rolled into civvy life pretty much like normal daily activity.
You just didn't have somebody shouting at you.
Yeah, I just didn't have to fucking iron my uniform. I was in fizz kit all the time. It was brilliant. I've not ironed since I've been in the military. Don't need to.
So let's talk about this then. So what you're doing at the moment, your like, peak performance and physical training and mentoring. Tell us about that.
So I am now
sell myself.
I don't like to sell myself. This is probably why I'm not fucking filthy rich. So I work with veterans that have basically lost their way, because I think some veterans go one or two ways with the fizz and the mindset. They either take a nosedive and like completely. I'm not talking about you before you to start. I didn't say that. You look down, not me.
Look. Yeah, I need to do some shit.
Some people hated fizz when they were in the military and are glad to see out of it and never want to do ever again, which I get. And this is why when people come to me and say, I want to do this, but I don't like running. I was like, why are you fucking running then? If you don't like running, don't fucking run. Just because you had to run in the military does not mean you have to run now. Running is overrated. I say this to people all the time. And this is coming from someone that did an ultra marathon.
Just say that bit again. Running is overrated.
Running is overrated.
I love you. Fucking hate running.
Especially as you get, like, no, I'm not talking about you again. Right? As you get older.
As you get bigger and older.
And your joints hurt.
Yeah.
And you don't enjoy running. All exercise is hard as it is. It's a stressor on the body. Why double your pain? Why do something that you fucking really hurt? It's like burpees. Why do a burpee? You don't need to do a fucking burpee. If you want to be a CrossFit athlete, then yeah, you need to do burpees. You want to do high rocks, yeah, you need to do burpees. But if you just want to feel better, if you just want to look better, you can walk and do weights, or you can walk and do like a home body weight circuit and still get some of the benefits out of it. Because again, military people, they think, oh yeah, I need to fizz. That means I've got to do a 10 miler minimum. I've got to thrash myself. No. Exercise in civistry isn't about thrashing yourself. It's about making you better. It's about increasing your energy and making you so that you're around for long enough to see your kids, see your grandkids, or to to do whatever you want in life. So I work with veterans who have lost their way in the physical form, but also from a mindset perspective as well. Now, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychotherapist. I just have learned that some veterans like to do things. They like to take ownership. And when they feel like they don't have power, learn helplessness, that's when the spiral starts. Because some people like traditional therapy and talking about it, like you've been for therapy before, but there are also things that you can do on a daily basis, like journaling, like meditating, like breath work, that will make you feel better, like setting goals, like achieving things. Because in the military, we had such high standards and we were always doing stuff. We're always either prepping to go out and exercise and learning a new skill set, or going on a different course, or making ourselves better. Sometimes we didn't want to go on that fucking shit course, but we still had to do things. And it was this like resilience of, yes, you've got to fucking clean the gympie. It's going to take an hour because you've just had it on sustained fire for the last 3 hours on a fucking range. It's the hardship that I don't really want to say the word weak, but if you look at the rest of the world now, it's comfort that kills. And you can't get away from discomfort. You can choose the easy path and sit and do nothing, drink, eat. You keep doing that for long enough, you'll get diabetes. Or you won't be able to walk up a set of stairs. Or you'll develop mental health issues. Because we forget again, exercise is a natural antidepressant. So one of the first things, like I ask people is like, oh, I'm struggling with my mindset a little bit. It was like, are you exercising? No, I haven't got time. Okay. Like, this time thing really pisses me off because we've all got the same amount of time. You exchange time for what you value. So if you're in a shit situation with your head and your physical state, and you tell me you haven't got time, that means you don't actually value it. And while you sat there complaining that you're in this position and you're doing nothing about it. Sometimes it is an excuse. Sometimes it's a fear of failure. Sometimes it's a tactical thing where you think you have to do this, boring clean eating, or eat fucking 10 eggs a day and eat steak and do some stupid fucking diet, which you don't need to do. So it all becomes a little bit overwhelming. When actually, if you just did small achievable things every single day and you were more consistent at it, yes, you're not going to get quick fixes, but it didn't take you 12 weeks to get into the state you are now. And again, when I say you, I'm not speaking to you, Frankie. I'm speaking to the people that...
Do you know what? Fucking, you described my life since I left the military. I'm fucking serious. You have. I'm diabetic. I developed diabetes while I was in the army. And that was because I put loads of weight on. I got downgraded, fucking knackered legs, this, that, and the other, all stuff, weird shit that happened to me. And I'll put my hand on my heart that's still pumping just because it's surrounded by fucking, the arteries are blocked. I'll put my hand on my heart and say, I am fucking lazy. I was that guy who would dodge out of PT. If I turned up for COS PT on a Friday, the rest of the regiment either thought somebody had died or somebody was getting promoted. They were fucking more shocked that I was there than anybody else. And that became the norm for me. And it has done for the last 12 years. I've like, it's become the norm. And you saying like about using excuses and stuff like that. And anyone's listening to this and who knows me can use me as an excuse or the example of how not to do it. Because I am that person who'll go, oh shit. The doctor says to me, your knee aches, you've got arthritis. Yeah, you put weight on, lose the weight, your knee's going to get better. Oh, I can't be arsed. I haven't got time. I sit on my arse all day at home. I come home. I sit on my arse and I'm still working. And that's an excuse of me not finding time to either look after myself or progress myself. I've seen you mention them on your posts, the old Ozempic and Wegovy and Manjaro. And I come quite close to this over Christmas. I had a bit of a downer over Christmas. And I thought, I want to fucking go that route, because then at least if I stop eating, or it cuts me down that way, I can lose a bit of weight the lazy way, because that's in my head. It was going to be the lazy way of losing weight. And as I've researched it a bit more, it's fucking not. Because even though you're taking these injections, if you're not doing anything with them injections, you're not going to lose the weight. You've still got to do shit. You've still got to move your ass. All right, you're eating a bit, but
So Ozempic works by appetite suppression, basically. So you eat less, you're in a calorie deficit, but unless you get it on the NHS, it's an expense. I think it's like somewhere between 150 to 250 pound a month. I think it is.
The cheapest I got it seen for was 129, and the average cost is 179 quid. And I applied for it because, again, I'm lazy. I thought I'd just do it the easy way, and as I found out, I got turned down because the NHS in the northeast don't give anybody it, especially Manjaro, because it's not been fully tested yet. Right? The NHS can't get hold of it because all the other places like Asda and online pharmacies and all that have fucking snapped it all up because they're selling it as a weight loss pill when it's not a weight loss pill, it's a diabetic medication.
Correct, yeah.
Right, so those people who've got type 2 diabetes who probably need it can't get the fucking thing anyway. You know what I mean? But it's a bit of a bone of contention with me. I almost went down that route where I probably shouldn't do that. I've got to find another way. And at the moment, I'm trying to eat less than 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day, which I'm managing to do, ish. I had a pasty
like, I won't really say that Ozempic's the lazy way to do it. I mean, one of my friends sent me a post of two skinny bitches taking Ozempic just because they were getting a little bit fat, and it's like, are you fucking stupid? Look, if using Ozempic helps you get rid of the type 2 diabetes, which is danger close of like cause mortality death rate, and it alleviates your arthritis, are you then going to be more inclined to exercise, walk, or do something because your knees don't hurt as much? And if that's the yes, then it's definitely the way to go. If it's a no, it's just going to be like anything else, like a gastric band. It'll square you away for the time that you use it. As soon as you stop using it, if you don't square your lifestyle away, your eating habits, you're going to put the weight back on. It's not the root cause.
And it's not the cure. It's a help. I know a friend of mine has had a gastric bypass. And he lost so much weight, it's unreal. I mean, he wasn't that big to start with, but he was big enough that it was needed for him. He went down that route. He had the operation last year, and he's lost nearly 7 stone. But he's plateaued out. I was talking to him the other day about it, and again, I'm no expert. This is your field. And I said to him, look, you've lost all the weight, but you're not exercising. Now, I'll give him his due. At the moment, he hasn't got time. He's doing a university course while he's at work, and at work. So he has to do that, to get the qualification.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
He spent 4 years doing it. Right, I said to him, he says, I've plateaued. I've still got a belly. I says, yeah, but it takes time to go away, and you still have to. You're going to have to exercise, otherwise you're just going to stay where you are now. All right, you're not eating, but your body will get used to that level, and it'll stay there.
And it's not just about like we said, like vanity when we did the intro before we started recording. It's about energy as well, because like your body's supposed to move. You're not supposed to be sat still. Your cells don't work like that. And if we look at, if you want to be around for old age, then muscle wastage is a real thing. So if you want to be wiping your ass for as long as you can without someone else doing it for you, then you need to have some sort of resistance training in there to stop the wastage of muscle.
I mean, how do you find that you can use me as an example, right? How would you? And I'm not trying to get free treatment here. Or free advice, not free treatment. I mean, how would you go ahead? How would you go about motivating somebody who's like is fucking I don't know, downtrodden in his own mind is probably what I am, or someone like me, or whatever.
So what I get to do with my clients is when they sign up with me, we do what I call mission critical tasks. So I get you to do a future self task, which is getting deep on who you want to be in the future. Like, what impact do you want to have on the world? What experiences? Who do you have to become to do that? Who's that going to help? Because squaddies don't like doing things for ourselves. But if there's someone else that can benefit, we'll be fucking the knight in shining armors that we are, because that's what we did to join up. And if it's going to impact our kids and our relationships, then that's a quite powerful motivator, leverage. So we go deep on that, what it is you actually want to achieve, building an inspiring version of yourself that's someone that you're proud to be. Because, and I have this argument with everyone, most people, about like maintaining. No one likes to maintain. If you're maintaining, you're going backwards. Maintenance is not a goal. Humans, and this is goal setting and going after goals, right? If you look at the literature and if you look at like PubMed and stuff like that, it's got a massive benefit to mental health. Because if you can like think that you're achieving something and bettering yourself, and not saying that you should be ungrateful for what you've got now, but if you keep pushing in a healthy manner, that energizes people. That's why I'm running 3 businesses and doing my degree. I've got the time for that, but people haven't got the time to go out for a 10-minute walk. That's because I am so fucking clear and so excited who I'm going to be in the future. Whether that happens or not, it doesn't matter, because I'm taking action every single fucking day. Yes, I'm knackered. Yes, I'm tired. But because I'm clear, because I know what the impact it's going to have for everyone else, that drives the fuck out of me. So that's the first thing I get to do with clients. I also get them to do a values assessment to get them clear on what they value. Because when you know what you actually value, and I'm not talking about like respect, integrity, those are all like social constructs. I'm talking about what you talk about the most, what you think about the most, what you write about the most, what you listen to the most. Because if you can link that to the tasks that you have to do every single day, then that boosts motivation because you're doing it for those values. Then we'd square your nutrition away. So I'd have a look at what you're eating, make tweaks, changes, make sure you're doing the fucking Billy Basics, like drinking 2 litres of water. The amount of times I have to remind veterans to drink water is ridiculous. It's like Billy Basics. Make sure your water bottles are filled.
Yeah.
Why am I reminding you this shit? Fucking come on, get a grip. It's water. Yeah, but I drink loads of fucking coffee. Cool, water.
Yeah. Fucking hell. I'm just going to fucking walk out of here in a minute, mate.
And then we'd sort what I call a movement plan out. So it's not a beasting. It's what can you do? What can you physically commit to every single day? Or how many days a week can you commit to structured exercise in the gym or doing like a home workout? Couple that with movement and walking and increasing steps. That gets the majority of people to the results. Because walking, anyone can walk. And it's so versatile. You can sling a backpack to make it harder. You can go for longer. You can take work calls when you're walking, provided it's not pissing it down and provided it's not a video call. And like any company that says, oh, what you're doing walking, I was like, well, I'm looking after my mental and physical health. Is that a problem? Try taking that to court. Unless you need to be on a laptop, of course. My approach is quite flexible. It's like, what can you do as a basic? If it's 15 minutes a day, I helped a truck driver lose a stone in 12 weeks just by exercising 15 minutes a day. So it can be done. And if a truck driver can do it, people that work from home, people that don't have much time, as long as they're doing something, as long as you've been like 1% better and you're doing something, all that is going to add up to evidence and you'll get there eventually. What the problem is with most people is they don't like to wait and they're impatient. So if they don't see results 1 week, they think, oh, fucking hell, shit cunt, what have I done wrong now? Then I'll go out and binge for the rest of the week. And they'll put all the weight back on and start from day one. So I'm all about consistency and simplicity. Then you've got the group calls with me as well, with the Veterans Health Academy, which is a group, and you've got shitloads of like resources and online lessons that help boost your mental health, and also let you understand why you're doing what you're doing and what you're eating because of why you're eating and why I'm telling you to do this. Because again, we like to know why we're doing stuff. If we know why, that's half the battle with squad is, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you just made me feel like fucking. I'm fucking. So there's you will deal with people like me all the time, right? And I would say that someone like myself, they need to be ready to jump into that journey.
Yeah. So a quote that I would love is,
to do it.
"If the pain of remaining the same outweighs the pain of change, then someone will change. If the pain of staying the same doesn't outweigh the pain of change, no one's going to change because they don't need to. They don't have to. It's not until something drastic happens, like you get type 2 diabetes. And even then, I've literally been on calls with people that I know if you did my program, you'd probably be at least out of that into pre-diabetic or completely off of it, depending on how much weight you got to lose. Because I've seen it before. Quite a few of my clients have come pre-diabetic, and as they've lost the weight, they've done that, and they're no longer pre-diabetic. But some people don't even care about being diabetic. And I'm not saying you for
no. I'll explain it the way I wouldn't say understand it, the way I felt about being diagnosed. I put a lot of weight on very quickly through fucking alcohol, just drinking too much, and lack of exercise. Woke up one morning blind, which was a bit of a shock.
Fucking hell, yeah.
At least. But I was hungover, so I thought I was just hungover, so I went back to sleep. Right, you know what I mean? Fucking hell. Woke up a couple of hours later thinking, I can't see properly now. It's everything's blurry. Late for work. So I buggered off over to headquarters. I work in RHQ then. Everyone was like, "You all right? You look a bit weird." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." They went, "No, you're not. Ring the med centre." Rang the med centre. Went down to the doctor. He went, "Pissing this. Tested me blood." He says, "Right, you're diabetic." I went, "No, don't be stupid." He goes, "Your blood count is at 32. You need to go home now, get into bed, and stay there for a week, and just drink water." And it meant nothing to me because I didn't understand it. You know what I mean? I just knew that I'd fucked my life up. And it took me a long time and I probably still haven't got over that. The depression of that, and you all of a sudden get yourself into a mindset, this is me. Because back then, I mean, it was only, 14 years ago, right? Even back then, only 14 years ago, the idea was that if you developed type 2 diabetes, it was a progressive illness and it would just get worse. And it's not like that now.
No.
So the nurses I was seeing when I left the army, my diabetic nurse was like, "Yeah, you're maintaining this, you're getting blah, 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 blah." The nurse I've got now beats the shit out of me every time I walk in.
Good.
She fucking grips me. I'm dreading the end of this month when I go through my review. So she's a spade is a spade type of thing. And I know where my own issues are, but I think it's with some people like myself or whatever you want to call it, and it is laziness as well, but it's also that deeply ingrained in your head that you kind of give up. That type of mentality where it's going to take something I think to change someone's mind who's in that mindset, and I'm starting to get out of it, I believe. I probably subconsciously invited you on here to give me a kick up the arse. I don't know. You know what I mean?
It works, hopefully.
It gets to a certain point where if you don't do anything, the next thing you're going to be doing is getting a stent put in, and that's going to, if that doesn't get you to fucking do shit, what is? So you have got to work a way out to change your mindset, and again, we've got people like yourself and other motivational coaches and stuff like that are out there that will do their best to help people and get them to do things. It's just like you're saying with the mental health that I found with doing the podcast that it helped not only my mental health, but I've had people, message me, not many, but I've had people messaging me saying that, listening to your podcast has encouraged me. It's helped me. I've gone and sought help through Op Courage and things like that, and that, for example, driving home on Tuesday night, I got a message off somebody who basically said, love your podcast. I've listened to all of them. Think they're great. When I was in the army, I was working in the welfare. I wanted to do that when I got out of the army, but couldn't because I had to earn a living. And, he went off to do, as he called, a proper job. But because I listened to the podcast, he's now starting work with the Samaritans. And he's gone back on that route. And when I read that, I was like, fucking hell, I got emotional. So
good.
Not just, the impact of that has helped me massively. And other people are saying that, and it is all right. It's little steps, and I'll get there in the end. I'm just got to slowly change my mindset. You can't do it overnight, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm doing that thing again. I'm giving myself excuses.
So think about it like this: if you don't square yourself away, who's going to keep doing this podcast and helping people?
So I've got those recorded. No, but I'm not. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. That's one of the reasons I quit. I mean, all right, I'm vaping, but I quit smoking and went on the vapes because I haven't got the fucking willpower to even stop that. But it was one of the Padres who said to me, "When you smoke too much," and I was like, "No, I don't. You do. You've just, your daughter's just had a baby. You want to see that baby grow up to be your grandchild?" I was like, "Yeah." But it took a while for that to sink in my head for me to quit smoking. And that grandkid's now 17 years old, and I haven't smoked for over 10 years, type of thing. But that's why one of the reasons I quit smoking was because I'd probably be in a lot worse state than I am now.
For sure.
So, like, for me, it takes years. It's like a glacier. Get the idea. 20 years later, oh yeah, do that type of thing. But some of us will get there in the end. So, what's your plans for the future then?
Help as many veterans, and I also work with non-veterans as well as I can. I've also I run a gym, and I am also building a franchise. And I haven't really told this to anyone because I don't really like telling people my goals until I've achieved them. I'm working towards my PhD at the minute. So whether I get there or not, we'll see.
I've got a feeling you will. Yeah, I've got a feeling you will. I think you're more motivated than even you let on. And that's the way it is. That's the way it's got to be. Right, we've been on for an hour and 15. I think that's longer than you thought you were going to be talking.
Yes, it was.
Sorry about that. I interrupted.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's good. It flowed well, so keep it going.
Yeah. Right, so I'll end the recording now, and I've got to, again, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. It's made me think. And anyone who was listening to this who's in the same boat as me, that there'll be. I'll put the notes in the show notes for the podcast. I'll put all the links on for your Facebook and your other links and stuff like that, and your Instagram and everything. Get in touch with Carl. I've got a feeling I might be soon. Don't know what I mean. I'll have a bit of soul searching first. Well, get in touch with him. See if he can help you out. And if you don't go the route with Carl, there's other people out there, and if you feel you do need help, reach out to someone and ask them, and that's the way it is. So again, thank you, Carl, for coming on. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
My pleasure, Frankie. Appreciate it.
You've kind of embarrassed me. But I've embarrassed myself. That's it. Right. Okay, right. I'll end the recording there then. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed recording it. If you could just hit the like button, and also if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell that'd be great because it'll help the channel grow. The more people will see it, the bigger it'll get, and the more guests I can get on, and the more people I can talk to. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Look forward to the next one. Hopefully, we'll be out next week as normal. Bye-bye now.